Hello, and welcome to the Real Talk with Rayne podcast. I am joined today with my friend Dark Ringer. If you would like to introduce yourself to the listeners.
Hello, my name is Darkringer, and I am your grand evil overlord. You should all kneel before me.
Man, I don't know why I thought you weren't going to do that, even though you just told me 2 minutes before we started recording that you were going to do that.
I'm
So,
Dark. Oh, sorry.
yeah, continue.
I'm Darkringer. You can find me on Twitch, Twitter, Bluesky, YouTube under that name. I'm primarily a streamer. I play all the video games, but I'm also a voice actor and a singer. And sometimes I like to poke Rayne with a stick and tell her she's a butt.
That's true. That's very true. And I'm your host, Rayne. So you can find me at Song of Rain pretty much on all social media platforms. And today we are going to be talking about cancel culture and if we should cancel culture. So the first point that I would like to bring up from somebody in our little Discord group has said they think it's gone too far personally.
Mm.
And I have to agree with that because the thing that I think about when it comes to cancel culture is like a mob mindset.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't even know this person. And while people should be held accountable for the things that they do, I don't understand the reasoning behind a bunch of strangers on the internet going on a smear campaign unless sometimes it's warranted, don't get me wrong, like, if they've really done something really bad, then people should call them out, but I'm talking more about people that just make drama videos for fun on just tearing other people down just because they may have slipped up and said something or cursed or something, like, it just people are trying to find any tiny little thing they can latch onto nowadays on the internet to make somebody look like a terrible human being, even though they don't know them and they don't know anything about this person or their life. So, at what point does cancel culture become just straight up bullying and harassment?
I have an answer to that.
Mhm.
An ex friend of mine once said that they would love to kill Eminem because he said the N word once in the 90s. I don't
Mhm.
remember the exact year, but it was before either of us was born. Is that?
To me, I feel like it has gone too far, so I definitely agree. But because a lot of people that are on the internet, they're trying to make a living, they're trying to put themselves out there, they're trying to show the world who they are, and it's just like in real life, like, you hang out with your friends and stuff, and you might be joking around one night, and human nature is you say something stupid, and then you're around friends who are like, "Oh, man, that was you shouldn't have said that," and you're like, "Oh, man, I'm sorry."
Yeah.
And you learn from that experience. But I feel like the cancel culture that I'm referring to and that I would really like to hone in on is the cancel culture that is just canceling people to cancel them for reasons that don't make any sense to me. Like people who are I don't even have a great example because I think cancel culture is good when it's actually holding people accountable for things that they've done. But I
Mm.
don't think that there should be drama channels and reaction channels that are put up on the internet just to tear other people down. I think the world has become a very it always has been, but I feel like it's more so now a hateful place. And instead of cancel culture actually holding people accountable for the things that they've done to the point where they learn from them, it's almost like doing the opposite because
Mm.
negative attention is still attention.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the people that get air quotes canceled are actually profiting off of it, to be honest, because they're still getting the attention, they're still getting the views, which then turns into monetary gain for them. And they don't know you. So your opinion of them most likely does not matter. Why are we trying to change the mind of a person who doesn't care what people think of them? You know what I mean?
I
I
think
feel
it's very performative. They don't want to actually hold this person accountable to change their actions. They just want a target that they can yell at because so they can look like they're I hate this term, but social justice warrior. Uh,
yeah, like the bandwagon of doing better as people
mm,
and learning from our mistakes and actually taking accountability, like these YouTube apology videos. But what point does it become just straight up bullying and hating on people to hate on them? What can we do in cancel culture to make it more like taking accountability for things that you've done and that the world is seeing that you've done and holding you accountable for it, saying, hey, you did this thing. This is not a good thing. Change it.
maybe don't assume that it was out of maliciousness and just go all scorched earth on the person.
I think that's also something that's crazy to me because we as people are going to make mistakes no
Mm,
matter what. It doesn't make the mistake right and it doesn't
mm,
excuse what's been done. It's really people have to change their mindset to think about, yes, they did this thing that they're getting canceled for. What are they doing now? Are they actually trying to better themselves? Are they putting more good out into the world after this has happened? Or are they just doing the same thing that they've been doing, making the same jokes and just being like, "Oh, me, I got canceled, meh." There's people, I'm not gonna name drop, but there's big YouTubers for sure
mm.
that when I was in high school, loved, and now as an adult, I'm like, "Oh my god, I
Yeah.
can't." It's just and it's crazy to me because humor changes over the years, and when dark humor used to be really acceptable and edgy, now it's very in the woke culture. It's extremely, I don't know what the word would be, but very penalized would be the best
Mhm.
for it. I feel like people nowadays are so easily offended and triggered and just want to be angry at something instead of looking at it in the lens of, does this actually affect me as a person?
How dare you say that to me? Trigger is my trigger word.
And I think as I get older, I realize it too because I see a lot of people that I watch a lot of cop shows where
Mm.
people get arrested and like, do you know who I am? I'm a TikToker. I'm like, that doesn't matter. Are you kidding me right now? Like,
I have 2 followers on Instagram.
literally, it does not matter if you're a TikTok star. If you're doing something wrong, you're doing something wrong. And you should be held accountable for it. I don't know. I feel like when I get into these kinds of conversations, especially when it's like touchy subjects like cancel culture, it's hard to really pin down if it's wrong or not
Right.
because I think it is to an extent good to have cancel culture because it holds people accountable to an extent.
Yeah.
But I also think that it's gone to the point where now it's just an excuse to be mean and
Mm.
hateful to people you don't know, whose lives you have not lived. And people make mistakes. What we do with those mistakes and how we grow from those mistakes, that determines our character. Unless it's something, again, some big YouTubers, not gonna name drop, but some big YouTubers have done some pretty bad things that
No.
they should definitely still be held accountable for and or probably be prosecuted for. But then again, it's just the internet, I feel, has just become such a scary place in general for people. Like they want to get on the internet to express themselves and be creative. And with me, like having the company that I had with RSP, like it taught me a lot of what it's like being directly in the public eye, even if it was really small, it still was a taste of what it could be when it's bigger. And I was like, nope. Like,
Fuck that.
I I just there's too much hate, there's too much drama, and I don't have the energy for it. I
No.
just I can't get behind it. I can't get behind how people think and how like the industries sometimes work with how shady it is. It just makes me feel icky and
Mm.
I just couldn't continue, especially with financially. I just couldn't do that. But it's things like that where people will try to find any tiny thing that you've done wrong and hold on to that as that's what determines who you are as a person and your
Yeah.
character.
Well,
Like
the number of
you,
times
yeah.
a celebrity, to usually a male celebrity, has passed away, and while everyone's grieving, almost immediately someone will be like, actually, they did this horrific thing back in like 1842. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's bad. Can you let us finish grieving? Because now we have to process both these things.
And I think it's just the air of, especially the younger generation, not me trying to be like, back in my day, you know, these kids these days with their inner whelps and their, literally, that's how I feel when I say that. But I'm like, I feel like every new generation that comes up is like getting more upset about things that
Mm.
when I was a kid, like we were just chilling outside and playing with rocks and sticks and touching grass. And like before the internet was a thing, you actually used your brain for
Mm.
imagination and like hung out with people outside, go to the
Yeah.
park, ride your bike. It's crazy to think, especially not even for just my generation, but the older generations, as I get older, I can understand why they're like, ah, the internet. Because it's crazy that you don't even know these people, yet you're making it your life's mission to destroy them. And some people go to crazy lengths to really harm people. And I'm like, at that point, you're not really doing any good by holding them accountable for what they've done. You're just being a bully and pretty much doing illegal shit yourself. So it's a hard line with cancel culture because I feel like the reason it's there is good, but it's been taken out of context
Yeah.
and thrown around to such an extreme where it doesn't really hold as much power anymore, to the point where people will joke now, "Oh my god, I can't I'm getting canceled," whatever, and I'm like, back
Yeah.
when this first started with the internet, that wasn't a good thing. It wasn't a funny thing, and it still really isn't. Like, it can affect people's lives and their jobs, and a lot of people are, like, falsely accusing people of things. So there are people
Mm.
that do the things that they're canceled for, but then there's people who don't. And there's just people that don't like them that go off and run around because they want to be mad at somebody because they had a disagreement or something. It
Yeah.
just,
There's a very specific tweet that just reminded me of someone Cho, the voice actor. He tweeted something unrelated. I don't remember what it was, but someone tweeted it saying, "Reminder: this character voiced a homophobic character." As
oh
though
my
that's grounds to
God.
cancel someone. Yeah, it's a character. It's not his opinions. That's
That's,
like canceling, I've forgotten the actor's name, but this middle-aged white actor because he said the N-word on the Boondocks. But it's in the script. They paid him to say it.
and it's the same thing with, I know for Has Been Hotel, at one point, the voice actor for Valentino was like getting for voicing him. And I'm like, he's doing a job.
Yeah, what the
He's
hell?
not the character. Do you understand fantasy from real life? Do
He
you
isn't
need to go
actually
touch
abusing the
grass?
person.
He's not actually doing what this Mothman is doing on the screen. Do you need help? Please go touch some grass because you are delusional if you think
Plot
voice
twist.
actors are their characters. It's called acting for a reason. Why are you attacking them? Like,
Plot
go
twist.
find
The
something
actor actually has
productive to
wings.
do.
Joel
No.
Perez actually has moth wings in real life. We didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. I couldn't remember the name for a second, but I was
I
just like,
googled it just now.
yes. I don't know if he got necessarily canceled, but there was a lot of people who were coming at him. And then I think he tweeted, I don't remember exactly what the tweet was, but saying something about, like, I'm not my character. There have been so many people in Hollywood, in movies, and that play characters that are horrible people
Yeah.
who actually existed in life at one point. Does that mean that they are that person and that they share the same morals and ideals? No, it's acting.
I found the tweet if you would like me to read it.
Oh, yes.
So this is a quote tweet in response to someone who said, "I'm so thankful that I saw your Has-Been Hotel Q&A panel at this con, and thank you for not hurting me like how Valentino was abusive since episode 4. And the quote tweet that Perez made in response to that was, "I'd like to make it abundantly clear that I, Joel Perez, am an actor, and Has-Been Hotel is not a documentary. I've also put
Mhm.
characters that are nice and silly and complex and loving and terrible and so on and on. It's called range."
Like, you can write characters that are horrible people that do horrible things to move a story forward. Don't come at their voice actors or their
Yeah.
actors. Like, the actors are being paid to say these things and to act it out. That's their job, to make you believe it. So if they're
Mm.
doing a good job, you should probably just say, "You made me really hate this character. Good job."
Yeah.
By that logic, I should be cancelled for having shot children.
Yeah, literally, I don't understand how things got so out of hand between when the internet was brought into our lives
Yeah.
and now where it's just a means of violence.
Remember when the internet was just a location in the house?
Yeah, like
When
when
you
you had to
left that
dial up
location,
from
you
the
left the
phone
internet.
and get off the phone and want to get on the internet.
You kids remember dial-up? You had to use your phone to get on the internet.
Are you on the
But
computer? Get off the computer. I have to make a phone call from the landline.
But Mom, I'm trying to watch the anime.
Yeah, seriously. It's just, oh my god. People can't enjoy things anymore without
No.
somebody coming in and finding a reason to be negative about it and hate on it. And I just, it makes me so sad because the other day, I was driving with my wife and we were just coming home from an appointment.
Mm.
And I saw these two boys who looked like they were like elementary school age. And they were outside with their little backpacks after school and they had sticks and they were like sword fighting each other with the sticks.
Aw.
And I was like, yes, yes. I love that. I love that you're not on your phones or
Mm.
your technology and you're like using your surroundings for enrichment for your life and actually
Yeah.
being kids. Like the kids that are now on the internet too, like it's younger and younger, just lying about their age so they can get on the internet. And then it's like they're exposed to all of these behaviors, and this is how they're being raised. And I think it depends on the generation, people as
Mm.
well that are consuming the content that's out in the world right now. But
Yeah.
something that I've noticed in my own spiritual journey and my own struggle with mental health and trying to understand myself more as a person, I would normally be embarrassed about working on. Sometimes I don't genuinely understand something, or I don't get the joke, or it goes over my head, or I say something and I'm like, I'm panicking for the rest of the day because I think I said something stupid,
Yeah.
and it's just, I decided that I just need to be kinder to myself because the world is not going to be kind to me.
Mm.
And the world is not going to be kind to any of us. It's just the way that it continues to go. We're not living in a time where we actually want to build each other up. There are songs about that. Like, women want to lift other women up until another woman's doing better than you. I don't remember who sang that song.
My brain is saying girls just want to have fun, and I'm pretty sure that's not correct.
And everybody wants you to love yourself until you actually do.
I'm gonna
Because
go
then it's
Google that.
like when you love yourself, your confidence is seen as cockiness. And I think there's a difference too between cockiness and confidence that goes into the cancel culture as well, because some people will see somebody living their best life and just genuinely living their life and like, and they get mad at them for no reason,
Mm.
just for sharing their lives. Like, why do people want to share their lives with the internet? If,
Everybody Supports Women by Sophia Izella. Real
oh,
good
yes.
song.
Okay. Thank you. I was like,
No problem.
I know the name is on the, it's at the top of my head and I couldn't
Mhm.
put my finger on it. But I love that song because it's so accurate. It's the contradictory, like the contradictions of the world where we say we listen, we don't judge, or we
Mm.
say we want to lift other people up. But then when it comes to that person doing better than us, it's now we need to find a reason to bring them down a peg.
Yeah.
And to me, I'm starting to see every day how the more I'm away from the internet and I'm not absorbed in it, the happier I have been because I've been more present in my life with my dogs and our cats and our little family and being able to not try so hard to achieve something so big by forcing myself to really overwork myself. Because for those that don't know, I have a chronic illness and so I work full time, but it's very difficult. But I can't not work full time because in the world that we live in right now, not working full time, I cannot pay for anything.
No.
It's hard enough as it is with both my wife and I working full time. And I'm able bodied enough that I can have a job. But for me, it's like the medical health stuff that really gets in the way. And that's why it's been such a struggle because jobs don't understand that. They want worker bots, they want people who don't understand what burnout is. They want you just to completely consume, like have work consume your life.
Yep.
I can't do that because I get really sick if I go too hard. And then I'm out of commission for a couple days. And so for the longest time, I'm trying to find a job that's like hybrid that I can work from home most of the time, but then go out in person when I need to. It's a little bit more flexible. So luckily now I have that option. But before it was so difficult to find positions like that. So that's why I was so stressed out about I need to make sure RSP becomes a thing. I want to make sure I can work for myself so I don't have to like worry about this anymore. Like I can be responsible for myself, but then that requires having a huge company that's growing and then trying to fund that company on one paycheck. And it gets so crazy out of hand so fast. It was such a huge life experience for me that I'm so happy I had. And it taught me a lot about just our lives in general. They're not meant to be plastered on the internet. They weren't for centuries, and we were fine. And now it's just a way to bring about violence and harm to people without even having to do anything. Like people can hide behind the screen all they want and say things about people, but when you're in person with that person that you were bringing down, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to say that to their face.
No.
And you're not going to feel the same way. This person really knew them and what they go through. Everybody has been through something, and you don't know what it's like. You can have similar experiences, but to say that you understand what a person, you don't really. And unless your experience is the exact experience, which is pretty much unheard of.
Yeah.
So cancel culture is like people who just want to be aggressive and angry. And in my brain, I'm like, if this is something that is truly needing to be handled, why aren't the authorities getting involved? We're not the authorities. The internet is not the authorities. Go do your homework. Go touch grass. Let the authorities handle it. If it's something that needs to be handled, call the authorities, tell them about it, and let them handle it. But I think then that can go off on another tangent about like if we think authorities are actually doing what they need to do with cases like on the internet. And then that's blurred too because the internet is such a sticky situation where it's, is this really a real life problem? Is this an internet problem? How can we deal with this legally? It's gotten to the point where I don't know if anybody knows what they can and can't do anymore.
No.
Just because it's so out of our hands and out of control that, people want to talk about these things, but they're afraid to. Myself included, I stumble over my words quite a bit and I try to think about what I'm saying because I even have that little voice in the back of my head going, well, you're going to say something that's going to piss somebody off. And it's okay. But at the same time, deal with it. Like, people need to develop a thicker skin and learn that in order to get anywhere in this life, you need to work hard and you need to learn how to grow as a person by reflecting on your own mistakes. The only person at the end of the day that you have to answer to is yourself. Other people can hold you accountable. That's fine. But you're the only person that really can hold yourself accountable and make that change. You're the only person that can actually decide, you know what? That's a good point. I should change that behavior. I should work on that.
Yeah.
But
I
I've met a
guess
few who aren't like that, who are just, I've been through X, Y, and Z, so the world owes me something.
yeah.
And you upset me by doing this, but I had no part in it. That's not how it works. That's not how communication works. That's not how language works. When you have a falling out with somebody, usually it's from both sides because there's their side, your side, and the truth. I think one of my biggest things that comes with not understanding cancel culture is the lack of actual connection that you have with that
Yeah.
person and actually like the context that things were being said because there's also things that have been edited out. There's things that people can make edits of certain things and take people's words. And now with AI and all of these other scary things, people can make
God.
something up and make
Yeah.
it look really real and really damage somebody's life just because they can.
Yep.
And it's terrible. Like the human compassion that we're capable of having, I feel like has been squandered so much by us consuming media and not actually going outside and experiencing the earth that we live on, that we're actively destroying. And it's just so sad to me that we're in a world that's so hateful that thinks that they need to constantly hurt others in order to feel better about themselves.
We live in a society.
Yeah. I couldn't be president. I know nothing about laws. I could barely walk on my own 2 feet half the time, but you
A
know.
woman in politics. No.
But I catch myself on stream a lot. Well, I'll make a joke like that and be like, someone's gonna take that the wrong way, so I have to look at the camera and specify that's a joke.
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
other day, I don't remember what the context was because I haven't gotten around to editing that part yet. But I made a joke with my friend being like, "Oh, a woman can't do this job. She'll just get her periods all over her. Herpaderpadoo." The joke is not women bad. The joke is that's an insane thing to say.
Yeah.
And I still had to look at the camera being like, that's a joke, by the way, just in case that wasn't clear. Even though my co-host with me is a woman,
Yeah.
I still felt the need to clarify that because of just how the internet is.
Yeah, because it's like you can not care about being canceled, but then everybody cares about that. Everybody
Yeah.
cares about having a smear campaign against them and just being constantly harassed by other people. Of course, you're
Yeah.
going to care about that, even if you say you don't. It's a scary thing because Nothing is private anymore.
No.
And people who are delusional and live on the internet really think that this is their way of becoming the next superhero. And I'm going to change
Cancel
the
them.
world. This person is the villain. This is the new villain. I'm the superhero. And we're like, who are you?
I am vengeance. I am the knight.
Yeah.
It's just some guy on his computer.
It's like the other day I was watching Cinnamon Toast Ken, who I love, and he had brought Chris Hansen onto his show, and they're talking about To Catch a Predator and that show that has been around for a really long time.
Does it still
And
air?
I don't think To Catch a Predator is still airing, but this is like where I have so many like moments where I know exactly what I'm talking about, but the name doesn't come to the front of my mind.
Right.
Chris Hansen has, I think it's Sit Down with Chris,
That
Take
sounds
Down with
terrifying.
Chris,
I
something
haven't
like
seen it.
that. But he's been doing it for a long time, and he sat with Ken and Buff Pro, and he talked very candidly about how on YouTube now you see a lot of these predator catching groups go out and do these things, but they're not even doing it in a way that could lead to this case being prosecuted and actually getting a result. They're doing it to shame people. And there was a video where somebody, and again, I don't know, I just saw this clip, but was like, you eat this dog poop and we'll let you go. And
What the?
yeah,
What's that
yeah.
gonna solve?
And I'm like, so what was the point? Embarrassing them, making them put something in their body that's going to make them sick? I don't understand. Like, why do you went through all of this to then just literally harass and bully somebody for views and clicks? You
But some
have no
people
life.
watched The Punisher and were like, "That could be me."
And it's Chris was talking about how maybe it's entertaining to some people. I don't understand, but maybe it's entertaining. And that's what gets them views and money. But what happens to these actual people that they let them go because they got their laughs and their kicks out of making them do something embarrassing? What stops them from going and reoffending again?
Yeah.
Literally nothing.
All I have to do is be embarrassed a little, so I can just keep doing whatever I want.
Sometimes it deters people from doing it, but just like Chris had said, he thought his show, To Catch a Predator, would deter people from making stupid, gross mistakes. But nope, it's still happening. And that's why he still has a new show about it. But he's talking about these vigilante groups, which is what he calls them, and
They
to
are,
go out.
really.
Huh?
That is what they are.
Yeah. Like it's vigilante groups, but then you're going out and you're like, I'm a big tough person and I'm gonna scare you with horror. But what is happening like behind the scenes? Is anything coming of this?
No.
Because then legally you get into the whole thing of was it entrapment? And then there's no case because it gets thrown out. And then this person, if they actually are a danger to society, can go and do it again.
Yeah.
And there's always going to be the chance that there is a one time that it's not a sting. That person's going to ruin somebody's life.
Yeah.
And it's just, I understand where the internet came in, wanting to be better for people, wanting to help us expand our knowledge and be a good resource for us. But it's turned into an actual playground of just, honestly, that's how I see it. It's just like a playground with like germs and kids running around screaming and crying and he stole my ball. I hate him. Oh, everybody, look, we're going to hate him now because he stole my ball. And it's become ridiculous. People aren't even aware of themselves as people anymore. It's like an out of body experience almost. While it's a good resource and a great way to connect and network, it's rare nowadays to see it actually being used for those reasons.
I have a briefly related tangent
Yeah.
about that. If you don't know, you know this, Rayne. I'm a Digimon fan.
Mhm.
I know, right? My username definitely isn't a Digimon reference. Anyway, the consensus among the fandom is that Digimon Tamers is the best season for its darker tone, its characters, its writing, etc. And everyone wanted there to be a sequel. In 2021, there was a sequel written by the writer of Tamers, Chiaki J. Konaka. It wasn't actually an anime, it was an audio drama, which, fine. We listened to it. The main antagonist of the Tamers audio drama in 2021 is a giant robot called Political Correctness, and its special attack is called Cancel Culture. Yes, really. I listened to it. The robot literally says in its robot voice, activating cancel culture.
I actually just got physically ill hearing that. Like, my body
Thankfully,
just went through hot flashes, and I'm only 32. Like,
I'm sorry I gave you menopause early with that information.
I think you did.
But,
Oh my god, that's
thankfully, the entire Digimon fandom did not get canceled over that. Because, goddamn, what we've agreed on is that never happened. That isn't real. It was all a fever dream that we all had simultaneously.
yeah. I feel like
Yeah,
we're
well,
living in a fever dream right now. That's what it feels like,
I had
you know?
this entire podcast so far, I've had to refrain from referencing Kanseru Karata Hatsudo Suru because no one
Yeah.
would get it.
This is the first podcast that we've done, so it's probably gonna be a little bit all over the place, but I feel like
Yeah.
the topic itself of cancel culture is all over the place, so it makes sense.
I mean, I do still have that list of slurs prepared if you need
No.
me to read it.
You're fired. No.
You can't fire me, I'm gay.
But it's like in general, like even making jokes like that, I feel like somebody somewhere is gonna be like, "What the heck?"
Yeah, I can't believe Rayne committed a hate crime against Darkringer. By
Oh my
firing him.
god,
It's fucking
terrible.
I know. More like Song of Cancelled.
Hashtag, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I don't know. I can't even. People were making fun of me. Like I have friends who are younger than me who are like in their 20s, and oh my god, you're so chronically offline, or you're such a grandma because I don't know what this.
Offline?
Yeah. And I'm
You
like,
mean
I don't know
alive?
what this I don't know what the slang is. I don't understand them. I don't know what's going on in their life.
Silly Rayne, you're so skibbity Riz Ohio Phantom Tax. I don't know what any of those mean individually. I heard them in there's a video that's like the Skyrim intro, but it's all replaced with Gen Alpha slang, and it's really fucking funny.
Like even it's crazy to me because even my dad, who he has a video on YouTube because he did an interview, he did like a little talk at one of his meetings. He's a doctor and
A
he
Middle Eastern dad who's a doctor? No.
crazy.
Just unbelievable.
It's insane.
South Asian, that's the joke.
But he was talking about how even with me growing up, he didn't specify us, but obviously he was seeing that in the 90s when everything was ramping up, how it's affected people, especially kids, because he's a pediatrician. So, especially kids that come into his office that are so attached to their phone, they can't even talk to him. Like,
Right.
they don't even acknowledge that he's there. And he's like, "Hi, like I'm here to give you a shot, make sure you're okay. Like, how are things
Yeah.
going?" Or he's had young people come in and talk about how the amount of likes that they're getting on social media is making them feel like they're not beautiful or making them
Oh my
feel like they're not worthy. And it's causing this depression and the rapid decline of mental health. And my dad was never somebody who spoke about mental health because we're, like I said, half Lebanese. Like his dad probably didn't even know what those words meant. It was not a thing that you talked about long, like when I was born in the 90s. It's started talking about it, but it still was, I feel like, a taboo subject almost, especially in the medical field because they're still struggling with it now to get the
Yeah.
resources that people need. And so hearing him even come around and talk about it, it really shocked me because he's not the kind of person when I grew up that really talked about that or like really understood that. It wasn't a lot of, he was more like, okay, this is the physical body. This is what is hurting. This is how you fix it. Like very logical. And so when he was talking about that, it really opened my eyes as well because to see him understand how horrible and negative of an impact it's having on especially the younger generation. And these people that are being consumed by the internet, these are our future. This is hear it all the time, but it's true. Like, how are we going to learn to be better people if we're being raised by the internet and by influencers and people who we don't know?
Remember when Jenna Marbles was allegedly supposed to be raising our kids or whatever that movement was?
I don't know, but Jenna Marbles, love her. And
Because she said something in a video once, and then there was a whole Twitter thing of Jenna Marbles should be raising our kids. She shouldn't be using language like that. No, you should be raising your kids. What?
and then she like left the internet. And I
Yeah,
think
I don't
she's
remember
just
why.
been so much happier since then. And I'm like, good for you, dude. She was big on the internet and
Yeah.
people want her to come back. But I'm like, listen, dude, her mental health is probably so much better right now. As much as I love Jenna Marbles and I would love to see her again in a video, she doesn't owe me that.
No.
She doesn't owe any of us that. She is a human being with her own life. And she deserves that privacy. She deserves to have the comfort of being detached from this virtual world and live in her own world where she's, there's physical, real life moments that are happening for her and everybody else that we're ignoring because we want fame and fortune.
Mm.
And at the end of the day, too, people who are crazy rich actors and celebrities, a lot of them are detached because when they get so big in terms of fame, they lose that sense of self and they just become a product. And it's not even, they don't have that attachment to that human side of them anymore, which I feel like is something that we should all hold on to very dearly because that's what makes us able to stay grounded and be better people and not just think that we've achieved X. So we're now at the highlight of our life. It can change at any moment and nobody lives forever. What are you doing on this earth that's going to impact the people who are closest to you that really matter?
I'm telling strangers on the internet that they should die. That's what I'm doing.
When people do that, it's just that's a whole other subject, which it's just and it goes into cancel culture again. Like, why are you saying those things? Who taught you to speak like this to another person? Where are your parents?
Probably.
I mean, listen, yeah, I
Listen,
wouldn't blame him for that.
I found Ahmed the dead terrorist funny, but now it's
Yeah, but that's not Ahmed telling people to die. He's just being ridiculous and stereotypical. And it's also like something with cancel culture that I find interesting too is it's almost as if certain groups of people and it's people like friend groups or like groups that can make the jokes in the group together, but then if it gets out, oh, no, I didn't mean that. Oh, no, no. And it's like, why would you say these things knowing that the internet is forever and all it takes is somebody to be like, oh, thanks, and then run with it? Or again, they could fake it and these people could ruin your life. They could ruin your real life job. They could really do damage. And at the end of the day, why are you trying to impress a bunch of strangers? Because you're getting money? Okay, money pays your bills, but are you being fulfilled on a spiritual and a soul level? Do you feel connected to who you are as a person? Do you feel connected to the people that are around you who see you and know you exist and you're not behind a screen? Like you were physically there with them. These people who can hug you and talk to you and share these moments and experiences with you, these are the people that really need you to be you. You don't need to perform for these people. They're the people that you ignore the most because you want the attention of strangers. And it's a warped view that the world has now. And thinking that celebrities are like gods. They're like, no, they go home and they poop in their toilet just like you do. If they have Taco Bell, it's a nasty one. I'm just telling you. Yeah. I'm like, it's the same thing. Just because they get glamorous, I bet you anything, celebrities, after they have a whole day, they go home, they shower, they become like the sleepy, exhausted versions of themselves with messy hair and baggy clothes, and they just want to sleep. At the end of the day, they're doing a job. They're entertaining us, and it's wonderful to share this talent with people that you have, like actors and singers and musicians and everybody. You want to share that talent with the world. But you're still a person at the end of the day. You're still a human with needs to eat and sleep and drink water, go to the bathroom, exercise. They're the same. We're on the same level. We just have different jobs. So it's cancel culture goes into that as well with the celebrities of like people get so involved in celebrities' lives and then people are like, they shouldn't put their lives out for the public. What do you expect them to do? That's the job they chose. They can try to be as private as they'd like, but with the paparazzi and how the world is, it's very difficult to have a private life, especially the bigger and more recognized you are.
Mm.
It is so much more difficult to even have moments of peace to yourself. And then you think about it from a human standpoint. What if they're having these moments of peace finally after this craziness and always feeling surrounded? And then people are lashing out at paparazzi because they're suddenly in their face and flashing cameras at them. I can understand why they'd be upset. You can't even just go to the grocery store without being harassed.
Isn't that just
And
the plot of Little Birdie?
listen, we're going to talk about that later.
Okay.
But I think there's just so much detachment, especially from the internet, because of the numbers that we see and the money that comes into play, that we totally forget that celebrities are literally the same level as we are. We're all just people. We're not better than anybody else. That's just your job. You're a singer. Good for you. You're the top singer in the world. Good for you. Amazing. Good job. That doesn't make you better than me. It just doesn't. At the end of the day, you can even argue people who work like firefighters that work in human services that are actively out there every day, changing lives and helping people face to face. They're like really getting their hands dirty and they're doing really hard work. Just because a celebrity makes more money than them doesn't make their work any less rewarding and any less beneficial to the world. This is something that I do too because I feel very rewarded by my job and I don't make a lot of money at all. I should be making more, but you know what? It's the economy we live in right now, and that's just how it is. Teachers don't get paid enough.
No.
People in human services don't get paid enough, and we're in that community where we're helping people in need and we're helping people who don't have as many access to resources as a celebrity does. But how often are celebrities also helping people who need help finding those resources? Sometimes they do, but all the time. You know, the world could be a better, bigger celebrities and richer people went towards getting access to those resources. But it's because we live in a world of greed and nobody wants to actually help unless it becomes a PR issue.
Mm.
And that's just really sad to me. The disconnect between humanity and the world. It's even hard to explain because it's so unreal to me. I can't wrap my mind around it. Because when you really think about it, like you really sit for a while and you reflect on how it was before the internet was around and how it is now, really terrifying and really scary. And I don't know if it'll ever change. I hope it does. I hope things get better. It's going to take
Exactly.
reframing their mindset, though.
But that requires effort, and we can't do that.
It requires effort. It requires looking at yourself. It requires taking a lot of moments to reflect and think about ways that you could have responded differently. Think about conversations that you've had, arguments that you've had with people, thinking about it from a perspective of it can't all be their fault. We're human. Communication is a two-way street. How could I have potentially thought about that a different way? How could I have handled it a different way? And there are some situations where you couldn't. Like, there are some really horrible situations where one person's very clearly in the wrong, and you don't need to do any self-reflection on that. Let me be clear. I'm talking about more of the petty things that happen that we burn bridges for. Life is too short to be so hateful and to be so consumed by wanting other people's approval, so you'll follow wherever the majority goes
Yeah.
instead of standing up and being alone if you need to be and saying that's not how the world should work. But people need to look within themselves, which a lot of people cannot do because it's way too scary.
That's why I'm so cynical.
But once you start taking accountability and you look at yourself and you can acknowledge that there are things that you need to do to change, there are things that you need to do as a person to grow and to be a better person. Everybody needs to grow. Everybody continues to grow until the day they die. Like, you're never too old to learn or to have somebody from any age group teach you something new. You were never too old. Like, our experience here in the world as people, we're here to learn and to grow and to try to make our world a better place. I genuinely believe that to restore the balance of the world's being more, I'm even trying to find the word and it's not coming to me, but the world being more accepting and more compassionate and equal.
Mm.
A lot of people have wanted that, and then we've made motions and movements towards it. And then there's all these little setbacks that add up. It really just, I think the people that learn while they're here is those are the people that I think will reap the benefits forever. That's going into the spirituality kind of talk. But there are definitely people who just refuse to take any accountability or see anything that they've done wrong. And they're in a victim mindset. And that's not a way to live.
No.
It's not going to make you a better person. It's not going to teach you things. It's not going to help you grow. And when you really do look at yourself and you take accountability for things you've done in your past and you look at those demons inside of you because everybody has them, no one is perfect. When you confront those things and you come out with a new mindset, changes your energy and how you carry yourself and how you see situations when they come up instead of saying, oh, this happened, so I'm going to use this as like a shield. Why don't you think about it from a human perspective? This is another human talking to you, and we are trying to connect. We are trying to connect and understand each other. And the only way we can do that is by communication and trying to see the other person's side and how they perceive things, because how they perceive things is not incorrect to them. It might be incorrect to us, but we don't live in their shoes. So
We don't live in their society.
It's just there's a lot of self-reflection that needs to happen and listening and empathy and learning that it's not all about us. Everybody has an experience and a story.
Sorry, I don't have much to say.
Oh, it's okay. But
I've never cast a pawn in my life.
what? I would like to thank everybody for listening. And the next podcast you can vote for if you are in my Song of Rain Discord channel. If you would like to join, the link will be somewhere in the description. I have a Patreon where you can have exclusive voting rights and other perks on my Patreon as well. And I'll also link that. So if you would like to be more involved in the podcasts, please join our Discord server and chat with.
Oh yeah.
Thank you, Darkringer, for joining me today and providing your insight.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I appreciate your time. And this will be one of many more podcasts to come. Everybody remember to drink some water and take care of yourself and love each other. Be kind.
Smooch your friends with consent.
Bye.